There you go, Mr. Scott. I'll let you adjust it. Because you are the pro, man.
That was pretty good. Looking pretty good. Actually, back a bit.
No, not that one. Fat finger syndrome.
You're live.
What?
You guys you went live.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, hi everybody.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Alan totally made us go live and we didn't even know we were live. So we were just acting like
We weren't live.
people who are like newscasters that don't know that the camera's live and they're just like chatting and just being normal humans. So hi, I'm super jet lagged because I just got back from Thailand and you guys know
I
that.
must be super jet lagged too.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he didn't sleep very well while I was out of town. I kept getting messages from him at 3 o'clock in the morning and 5 o'clock in the morning. So there was a lot of emotion going into Thailand because I was traveling solo and I didn't know how safe I was going to be. And he didn't know how safe I was going to be. So there was a lot of checking in and stuff like that. And I feel really grateful to have all of the love and support that I had while I was in Thailand. It was absolutely amazing. So if there's any of you guys that don't know Mr. Alan Ogden, he is my bestie in the whole entire world, also my business partner in the Glutathione Authority. And I set up this platform to help Alan Ogden basically secure his IP, and which is intellectual property, and to create an arena for those of you guys who really want to understand what glutathione is and how it affects your body. And up until the two of us started working together, he was lecturing live all the time and the IP wasn't being captured. And I saw how incredibly passionate he was about optimizing glutathione. And then when he supported me optimizing mine and healing my concussion, it completely changed my world and made me incredibly passionate about optimizing glutathione. And so the two of us with the same passion and with different scopes of knowledge and experience have been able to come together to create this arena to support you guys understanding and hopefully also becoming passionate about optimizing your glutathione. So the reason that Alan Ogden stands in a place to be the glutathione authority, to be the authority on this is, first and foremost, he has more than a decade of research and knowledge and experience in optimizing glutathione. He's also a pharmacologist, and that really is a real understanding of how the body works and how to make medicine from nature, from plants. So back in the day, in his generation, you would actually go to the apothecary or pharmacist, and they would actually go into the back and they would make a concoction specific to you and your ailment. We don't experience that in today's world. It's a very different experience where we go to a doctor, they write a prescription, and all the pharmacist does is read us the list of contraindications and make sure that we're not, and that we're using things properly. So it's a very different experience, and really his experience and education and knowledge is next level, and it's one of the things that I think makes him very special. So I actually don't like it when he calls himself a pharmacist or when other people call him a pharmacist, because in my mind, he's very different from a pharmacist. Like, his knowledge is much more vast. And then of course there's 40 plus years of education and knowledge and experience within that arena as well, which is absolutely phenomenal. He's also got 4 nutritional degrees, which really supports the understanding of what nutrition our body actually needs to thrive. He spent a number of years working with women that were pregnant and helped to deliver, not personally deliver, but create numerous healthy babies that throughout their lives didn't develop a lot of the major issues that parents suffer with their children today. It seems to be rampant. He did work on oncology, pediatric medicine, geriatric medicine. He has an energy medicine degree as well. So with all of the degrees, with this massive resume, and then the phenomenal amount of experience and knowledge that he has, he really stands in a place to be able to help us understand. And I mean us because I learn every time I have the opportunity to sit next to him every week. I'm learning something new. So for those of you guys that are joining us every week, I'm just like you guys, having the opportunity to learn something new with the knowledge and the wisdom and the experience that he has. And I feel very, very blessed to have him beside me, helping to educate all of you guys. And before he says anything, I just came back from Thailand, like I said, and I got him something special.
Ooh.
So I wanted to give it to him live so that you can check it out. So this is the gift that I picked up when I was in the Chatuchak Market, which is in downtown Bangkok. It's a really special market that's got thousands of booths. It's absolutely ridiculous. I think it's somewhere in the vicinity of 40,000 booths of all sorts of really cool stuff. And, you know, we all know that Alan is very unique and special, so I got something that's unique and special that you can only get in Thailand.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's really cool.
So it's a balm. It's a roller balm.
As in a B-A-L-M.
Yeah,
right.
Balm. It's not a bomb. We're not going to explode the place. And what's really interesting about it is it actually has a blend of plants that are native
inside
to Thailand that you can only get in Thailand, that are in the container, and you can see them in there.
It's so cool.
And it's fantastic for sore muscles. If you have a cold, you can smell it and it'll clear your sinuses instantaneously.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, right?
Wow.
Yeah, it's
this
really
reminds
stimulating.
me of school, really.
That's exactly what I
Seriously,
was
this
thinking.
Totally reminds me of school. Like, people don't really get it. I do have to interrupt you, because people
Go
really
ahead.
don't get. Like, when I bought my first drugstore, the basement of that store was full of bark and herbs and plants. And the man I bought the store from, the store had been opened in 1901. I was the third owner of that store, and we still had a Bunsen burner. We still had all the compounding material, and we would still get prescriptions written specifically for people and have to compound them. And it wasn't unusual at all. Now, if you go to the doctor and they want to give you like bioidentical hormones or something, you have to go to a compounding pharmacy and pay ridiculous amounts of money for those things.
Yeah.
There actually is no sort of price line guideline, or there's very few price guidelines for that. So now it's a big thing to go back to compounding, but they're not using herbs. They're actually using drugs. They're compounding with drugs, not herbs. So this is so fantastic. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It is really special, and it's special to be in your living room or kitchen. Where are we? We're in the kitchen, really. It's sort of hard to tell because there's a big room over there, a kitchen over here, and we're in the middle. Anyway, great to be here. It's super to have Harmony back. Like she said, I didn't sleep well for like 10, 11 nights, whatever it was, that she was gone. Kind of waking up, you know, when it would be morning in Thailand, just kind of thinking about her being over there, as she said, traveling solo. And our daughter was there many years ago, and I kind of did the same thing with her, except we didn't have phones back then. So it would be email. We'd email back and forth a little bit. And just when you care about somebody really deeply and they're in a place that you don't know, never been to, it's natural to worry. So thanks for answering my calls and all that kind of stuff. And it was kind of crazy.
He was there for me last minute on a couple of changes that I made. When I was in Phuket, I was actually supposed to go back into Bangkok and go and explore some old cities and stuff. And I ended up having such a great time in Phuket. I actually changed my mind last minute, about an hour before I was supposed to be picked up to go on the flight. And Alan actually helped me to sort that out and to make some changes and stuff. And he was absolutely fantastic. And then when I went and booked a flight back, it turned out that I was going to the wrong airport. There's 2 airports. For any of you guys that are flying back into Bangkok from somewhere, there are 2 airports. Mm-hmm. So there's one that starts with an M, and then there's BKK, which is the main international airport. So if you're going to Bangkok from somewhere and you want to explore and you're not looking to actually make a connection, then it doesn't really matter. But those airports are 45 minutes apart. So if you're looking to make a connection, you need to go to BKK. That was the mistake that I made, and I lost a little bit of money on that one. So Alan helped me to recover by finding me a flight that got me to BKK. And when I actually got there, and the amount of time that it took for me to transfer and check in and go through security and do all the stuff that I did, I would have been really stressed.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys know about the traffic in Bangkok. It is insane.
Worse than LA.
Yeah, 8 million plus people in Bangkok. The traffic starts at about 7 o'clock in the morning and it finishes around midnight, and people are crawling. The only way to get around is to hop on the back of a scooter. So
Yeah.
I did a lot of that. It
And
was great.
One of the things that people don't understand is LA has traffic lights, Bangkok doesn't.
It only has traffic lights at major intersections. But most of the city does not have intersections, major intersections with lights. So most of the time they're just a mishmash of craziness. People walking across the street, cars, managing to, crisscross, and then scooters also booting around and stuff like that. It is organized chaos.
Yeah, just go on YouTube and look up Bangkok traffic.
Yeah.
It's really actually kind of fun to watch. You're like, you can't even believe.
Go onto my Facebook news feed and you'll see videos of the traffic. Because I actually posted a video at 7 o'clock at night and the traffic was not moving. And then at one point there was a guy who had a truck and he was sitting there in the middle of the intersection playing really loud music, not moving.
No.
And nobody was honking at him. In
Wow.
Vancouver, in most other places, there's no way you would get away with that. There were buses going around him, everybody was going around him, and nobody honks. And even though the traffic is so horrible, nobody honks.
Wow. Well, they got that habit down pat in Vancouver. Anyway,
Yeah,
it's great
people
to
like
be
to
here
honk in Vancouver.
with Harmony, and like she said, we met through her having a concussion and a business opportunity that was presented to her and me at the same time a long time ago through Visi. We became great friends, and I watched her recover. Of course, I didn't know this person before, so she was just an individual, and she started to recover from her concussion, and then boom, I watched this person develop. She took pranic healing, body code, emotion code, clinical hypnotherapy. She continues to do that. She's written her own program. She practices clinical hypnotherapy. And it's been amazing to watch this individual just literally change before your eyes because their brain got better. And tonight we're going to talk about the heart, but we can't really talk about the heart without talking about the brain a bit too. But we are going to talk about glutathione and the heart. And part of the reason for that is I have someone, my oldest brother happens to be in the hospital again this is multiple times now that he's in the hospital. Because he has a weak heart, and that's just through years of abuse, not caring for himself at all, driving a truck for the last almost 60 years, literally driving a truck, never exercising, eating whatever he wanted, eating road food, and the result of that, of course, is, and being overweight. But let's just think about, people that are out there that aren't driving a truck for 60 years and aren't overweight. They're just living their life. And, our heart beats like 76,000 times on average per day. So I don't know that there's any other organ in our body that physically has so much movement. Our brain doesn't move. I mean, we do a lot. I think we have 60,000 thoughts a minute or something like that. We process like 2 billion bits of information per second. But our brain doesn't move. It doesn't have any function like this. Our stomach does and our intestinal tract move, but they move just slowly. They only move when they're stimulated to move, but our heart has to move. It really has to move. And depending on your fitness level, determines how much it's going to move in the day. So if you remember, if you don't, I'm going to tell you. The purpose of a cell, any individual cell in your body, is to create energy, which can be used for heat, or it can be used for movement, and then it creates protein. Then it actually replicates itself into 2 daughter cells. They're always called daughter cells. I didn't name them. Don't be mad at me. That's what they're called. Some geneticists called them daughter cells a bazillion years ago, and that's what they're called. So they're called daughter cells. And those daughter cells then only have the genetic material and the information that cell can pass along. So if you have a cell that happens to be inferior in function and it divides into daughter cells, then you have inferior daughter cells. When I was in university, to get out of university, get out of pharmacy school, you actually have to write a paper. I wrote my paper on how does your body know to stay sick. And I actually got a really nice grade on my paper, and I obviously got out of university, which was really awesome. I didn't know at the time, I wrote my paper on something sort of entirely different, and related to how cancer can stay in your body and your body still functions around it, even though it's a devastating disease attacking you. It's your own DNA. But let's just think about this. So now we take this cell that has a lower than normal functionality, and we replicate that. But it's replicated into 2 daughter cells. So the chances of those daughter cells retaining even the energy and the power of the original cell is reduced. Now those cells are going to replicate, and those cells are going to replicate, and those cells are going to replicate. Now we could call that aging over time. That's really what aging kind of is over time. And aging is the result of our body's inability to produce collagen and a lack of glutathione. That's a real big, broad statement, but really in a macro view, in a big view, the lack of collagen production, because our cell membrane is made of collagen and some fat, the lack of a solid, good, healthy cell membrane, and then the lack of glutathione inside leads to a reduction in the number of mitochondria, which is the energy producing part of your cell, and leads to a lack of cellular strength. So now we have these weak cells who have less batteries in them, they can't produce the energy, and ultimately we call that aging. If we think in our mind, when you meet someone and you decide in your mind that they're elderly, because age really, a number that really doesn't have anything to do with that, it could be someone who's 50, and in your mind you go, wow, that person is acting old. What are the symptoms that you're looking at? I mean, you're looking at, right, mobility.
Card playing in the country club. Drinking gin.
Yeah.
It's so funny when people start to like complain about their like aches and pains and stuff like that. You know, like people just start to like act old. Like it's so funny because my girlfriend, she's quite youthful, and both her and her husband are maybe 4 years apart. And I started hanging out with her when she was about 42, and she wanted to hike the Half Dome, and she wanted to travel, and she wanted to do Kilimanjaro, and she wanted to go do all this stuff, and she wanted to kayak and do all these sporty things, and she was like having no problems hanging out with me, and I was 27 at the time. And her husband, just 4 years older, was hanging out at the country club playing cards and playing golf, and was hanging out with a bunch of dudes that were in their 70s and was very comfortable and totally acted like an old dude. So they both were like polar opposites, and yet they were the same age range. So
Yeah.
it has a lot to do with your state of mind.
Your state of, absolutely, for sure. But you know, when we don't know people's state of mind, we just look at somebody and we say, well, that person is appearing old. We're talking about their mobility. Maybe we're talking about their, you know, just their skin.
Their hair.
Their hair. I have a friend, and you know, she's been a vegan for the last 15 years. And it is really telling on her that, I'm not saying veganism is wrong for everybody. Some people, they really thrive on it. But for her skin is saggy. Her teeth are looking like they're almost going to fall out. Her hair is horrid. And she's 40.
Ooh.
She just turned 40.
Wow.
In the last couple of weeks. And honest, she looks like she's 65.
Oh my gosh.
You know, she has mobility. I will give her that. She has mobility. But the rest of her is really aging because of lack of collagen. No animal protein. No protein to increase collagen production in her body. So anyway, getting back to the cell and its purpose. So our heart cells, our heart muscles are different than any other muscle in the body. They have to twitch. Now, if we had twitches in all the other muscles in our body, we'd be a mess.
We'd lose our minds with insanity.
We would lose our mind, yes, right?
I know when I've got like leg twitchy syndrome, like when I'm trying to sleep and stuff, it happens when I get sick because I'm not as physically active, and so my leg muscles are like firing when I'm trying to sleep. It makes me want to lose my mind.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
You get twitchy legs, or if you get an eye twitch,
Oh,
Anybody ever
yeah.
had an eye twitch?
Oh,
It's
yeah,
just
no,
so,
my sister gave me one of those.
It's so aggravating. Like, yeah. So if all of our other muscles,
Crazy making.
if our other muscles were made to twitch, we would be a mess.
Yeah.
But our heart muscles are made to twitch, literally to twitch. Every, whatever, 60 times, 70, 80, 90, 100, multiple times per minute. And they're a very different kind of muscle tissue. At the cellular level, however, also, just on heart muscle, their electrical conductivity is considerably different than any other muscle in our body. So just think about this. What if every other muscle in your body was getting an electrical shock every few seconds? Zzz, zzz, zzz. So you can imagine that your heart muscle, your whole heart as an organ, is considerably different than the rest of your anatomy. What if your brain was getting zapped every few seconds? I mean, we would go bananas, we would go crazy. So your heart is considerably different. But at the cellular level, those muscles still have the same cellular function, which is to produce energy, produce protein, and replicate themselves. So when we were in the lab, and we would take, what's really cool is when we were in the lab, and if you took heart tissue out, put it in a petri dish and whatever, those cells would continue to pulse without any exterior stimulus. They would continue to pulse. So genetically programmed to pulse. You take skin cells, you put them in a petri dish, they just sit there, they just lay there, they don't do anything. Other muscles, other cells, you can actually take them out, you can put an electrical charge into them, and they will twitch. All cells will twitch a bit. So, but your heart is meant to do that.
Yep.
But at the cellular level, all cells have the same function. So the original antioxidant of our body, so the antioxidant that allowed us to live, wasn't vitamin C. It wasn't astaxanthin. It wasn't all the things that are being promoted as the next greatest. It wasn't alpha lipoic acid. It wasn't any of those things. It wasn't turmeric. Those are all great antioxidants, but they were not the thing that allowed us to live. The thing that allowed us to live was a combination of amino acids, 3 amino acids that came together, and in the presence of a sulfur bond, selenium, they created what was called glutathione. And glutathione became this inside the cell. It became the protector of the cell. So it got rid of the waste material from energy production. It got rid of the waste material from protein production, and it also contributes to the detoxification once the cell has died and it needs to be taken out of the body. So it apoptoses and gets taken out of the body. If that doesn't happen, what we get is, you remember this, right? Sentient cells.
Oh yeah, I like to call them zombie cells.
Zombie cells. She likes to call them zombie cells. The technical name is sentient cells. In other words, they're cells that are dead, but they have no biological function. So they're just hanging out in our body, and they create inflammation. You've probably heard that inflammation is the root cause of all disease. Why would they sit there and cause inflammation? Because you have low glutathione. By the way, if you're a person who has anemia, who suffers from anemia, you absolutely, positively have low glutathione levels. If anybody in your family has anemia, you have low glutathione levels, because glutathione, in conjunction with the cardiovascular system, also attaches oxygen to red blood cells and allows for the distribution of oxygen throughout your body. So if you don't have enough iron, your glutathione can't do that. You can't carry, and glutathione will actually help in the preservation, production of red blood cells that can then carry oxygen to your body. So we have this heart muscle. You guys thought I lost my place. I didn't lose my place. We have this heart muscle that's beating, and it's twitching, it's twitching, it's twitching. It's constantly, so it burns way more energy than any other cell in your body. With energy production comes oxidative stress. With oxidative stress comes inflammation. So it's cardiovascular disease was the leading cause of death in America until diabetes took it over. We now know that diabetes is actually a metabolic syndrome that is made up of a malfunctioning pancreas, a malfunctioning cardiovascular system, and a malfunctioning immune system. They're all tied together. So you can't have diabetes without having a heart condition, and literally you can't have a heart condition without having some kind of malfunction in your immune and your body's ability to handle sugar. So, what does glutathione do? Glutathione is the master antioxidant. It's the antioxidant your body makes for your body. Can't emphasize that enough. You can get vitamin C as a matter of fact, we lost our ability to actually manufacture vitamin C several 100,000 years ago as cellular organisms and many thousand years ago as human beings. So we have to supplement with vitamin C. You knew that, right?
Yep.
Yeah. We have to, all the other antioxidants literally will come from our glutathione production, or they'll come from exterior exogenous sources. So, hopefully we have enough catalase, hopefully we have enough DSMO or DMO, whichever acronym you're used to. Hopefully we have enough of those things in our body. They're all dependent, those levels in our cell are all dependent on our level of glutathione. So even catalase, and people talk about, well, I can take herbs and I can increase my level of catalase activity. Yes, you can, but you still, at the basis, need to have glutathione. So here you have this organ, it's pumping, it's twitching, it's carrying an electrical charge, it's happening every boom, 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 multiple times per minute. The oxidative stress on your heart tissue is probably the most. The brain is pretty close, but the heart is the most.
Are you sure? Because what about the nose and ears? They don't stop growing.
It's true. Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
I actually said to my grandma one time, "Hey grandma, I can't get over the size of your nose." And she's like, "Well, go around it then." Her nose got very prominent. She was in her 90s when she passed away, and she had a very prominent nose. We see pictures of her when she was young and really cute and beautiful, and little pug nose, whatever. Not when she passed away. She had this nose, and her ears were very prominent as well. So it's true.
I want to backtrack to what you were saying just to make a little tiny point that I don't know if it was really emphasized enough, because you said that glutathione it's optimized for your body, and it's really important for people to understand that that your glutathione is your glutathione. So when I take the precursor amino acids and a mineral, this is the combination, you're getting 3 precursor amino acids and a mineral that the cells in your body are programmed to receive to optimize glutathione. What happens is those cells create Harmony's personal glutathione.
Yes.
That protects my life based on my experiences. So now that I've been to Thailand and I've experienced eating bacteria and being exposed to bacteria in Thailand, now my body has gone through a process to create a defense system and to work with the bacteria in Thailand. Alan hasn't been there yet. So his system and his glutathione is not optimized for the bacteria in Thailand. So each of us has our own glutathione that is personalized to defend our body based on our experiences, which is why you can't take exogenous or glutathione that is produced outside of the body and have it and just consume it and expect it to optimize the glutathione within your body. It's more complicated when it comes to how exogenous glutathione is actually utilized within the body, but this is just a major point when you're trying to understand how to optimize your glutathione, because we're talking about glutathione so much that people just think, oh, I just need to go to Shoppers Drug Mart and buy glutathione off the shelf. No, you don't. It's not going to work.
That's right.
Oh, well, my naturopath does like glutathione by IV. Well, I'm not looking to get pricked by a needle, so I'm not voting for that scenario. But it actually is ineffective as well. So all of the different types, whether it's given to you by a doctor, a naturopath, whether you buy it at Shoppers Drug Mart, if it is already created glutathione outside of your body, when you're consuming it, you are not getting the results or the optimization that you can get by just taking what Mr. Glutathione, your internal electrician that takes care of the whole breaker board of your system, needs as food, which is phenomenally simple when you really think about the job that it does in your body.
Yeah.
All it needs on a regular basis is these 3 precursor amino acids and 1 mineral. It is it. And you just give it those 4 things and it does exactly what it needs to do to control all of the defense mechanisms. I'm jet lagged. All of the defense mechanisms in your body. And that is just one of the things that it does.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's so simple, you think somebody really intelligent invented it.
Yeah.
Right?
It's phenomenally simple
And by
when you
the way,
understand it. And yet at the same time, for people to, unless you understand that simplicity, it's really complicated.
Yeah. And I just read a meta-analysis. Okay, so a meta-analysis is when a group of really intelligent people sit down and they review all of the information that's available in a database. So these individuals at the National Institute of Health sat down and they did a meta-analysis. In other words, they looked at a whole bunch of information regarding 2 things. One, N-acetylcysteine, which we've talked about on this particular show. Their conclusion for N-acetylcysteine was it's a drug for a reason. It should only be used for a short time and they could not find any conclusive study information that would lead them to believe recommending the consumption of N-acetylcysteine had any long-term health benefits. So in spite of what you read on the web by people who are going to sell you N-acetylcysteine, a meta-analysis of actual data and research done in N-acetylcysteine says that. A meta-analysis on exogenous glutathione that Harmony was just talking about, literally what the authors of that study came to the conclusion that it's possible over an extended period of time there might be some elevation in intracellular glutathione. So in spite of one study that individuals use to promote glutathione, exogenous glutathione, and put it as an ingredient in many, many formulas nowadays, that was one study of 56 people. The meta-analysis of the data in the National Institute of Health database leads them to the conclusion that it's really unlikely that glutathione long-term is going to do you any good. However, when we give amino acids, there's over 100 clinical trials just in the last 10 years that literally show that when you get the amino acids in the ratio along with the selenium, your body will literally produce intracellular glutathione. Over 100 clinical trials. So the conclusions there is, yes, it will absolutely help your cells optimize glutathione.
I just want to take 2 seconds and just let anybody know if you're being exposed to this information for the first time. I noticed that that Jackie Kilduff is just talking to her lovely friend Pam, who is joining us. Any of you guys who are coming on for the first time, please, if there's any information that you're feeling overwhelmed by or you don't know what we're talking about, ask questions. I'm watching the commentary and we are absolutely happy to get feedback, to get questions, and to answer you. This is absolutely interactive.
Yes. So, back to the heart and glutathione. So, a recent Swedish study indicated that most cardiovascular accidents, that's a fancy term for heart attacks.
Cardiovascular accidents.
Yes, cardiovascular accidents.
Oh my goodness, that's really interesting.
Myocardial infarctions is another term.
I
You gotta really be careful with that one.
Yeah, right?
Right?
Try to get a toddler to say that and see how that works
Yeah.
out. I want to hear your youngest granddaughter say that.
Yeah, me too. See, myocardial infarction.
Yeah, call up Maggie and then be like, hey Maggie, I got something for you to say.
Yeah. So, both Sweden and Norway did these studies, and they came to the conclusion that most heart attacks, so over 50% of heart attacks, have nothing to do with your physiology. In other words, it has nothing to do with if you're overweight, if you've eaten too much fat, if your cholesterol is high, blah, 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 blah.
What?
None of that. They're literally an imbalance in your nervous system, your parasympathetic and your sympathetic nervous system, where the sympathetic nervous system causes the twitch and the parasympathetic does not switch on to shut it off because you do not have the immunological strength in your nervous system to do that. Not my conclusion. This is their conclusion, not mine at all. So what they're saying is over half of the heart attacks that are happening are a result literally of an imbalance in our immune system and an overproduction of the stress hormone cortisol. That's a huge number of people. One in every second heart attack is actually stress-induced and happens because you cannot function at an immunological level properly. So you can't turn the switch on that tells your heart to stop twitching.
There's so many shocked faces right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like literally, they're just popping up.
Yeah. So
this is mind-blowing information.
It's mind-blowing information.
Yeah.
So in elevating glutathione, reducing the oxidative stress in your body now has become a critical factor in the reduction of cardiovascular disease. So just jumping back to somebody that I know there, one of the things that he has never done in his life is monitor or optimize glutathione. Besides his brother saying to him, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this, that hasn't happened. So if there's remember that I said there's a metabolic syndrome now that involves diabetes, immune response, and the cardiovascular system. So when you have diabetes, you likely have some cardiovascular weakness, and if you have cardiovascular weakness, it's likely that you have some imbalance in your immune system and your body's ability to handle sugars. When you eat sugar, literally, here's what happens in these people with metabolic imbalance. And how many people are we talking? We're talking over 1/3 of the people on the planet.
Oh.
1/3 of the people on the planet. When they eat sugar, their cardiovascular system twitches. So not just their heart, their whole cardiovascular system literally goes into a minor seizure.
Wow.
And that's literally due to the inflammatory effect. Their body can't handle the sugar, and it causes literally a narrowing of the arteries. Their body for some period of time after eating a high sugar meal. That's why a lot of men will have to lay down after a meal, or sometimes people feel really fatigued after they eat a lot of sugar. Even though they feel high and then they do this, they drop down.
Oh, that happened to me when I had nerds this one time. I hadn't had sugar like in a long time. I was like 30, and I went to this clothing store, and they had a bunch of junk food at the front desk. I don't know why. And I just decided for the hell of it just to buy like a thing of nerds, and I was at work, and I like downed them, and then I got ridiculously giddy. I had like this high, and I was like literally almost like, it was like being high on drugs, you know what I mean?
Well, you are. Sure,
and then when I got off work, it is a drug, exactly, but it's like, that was like the one time that it was apparent in my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that
yeah.
I was really like being affected by a drug.
Yeah, you could assign it to that.
Yeah, that moment. And then when I was driving home, I was so phenomenally fatigued. I almost didn't make it home. I was like falling asleep on the road. It was dangerous. Like I couldn't believe it. Like, super, super high, and then I crashed really, really hard.
Yeah, so these researchers had a nice conclusion to all of their studying as well, is the fact that over 50%, it's actually 53% if you want the number, 47% of heart attacks are caused by a malfunction of our body's ability to handle triglycerides. And the triglycerides and the amino acid methionine with cysteine cause homocysteine, and homocysteine plaques are very different than the other cardiovascular plaque. But anyway, this 53% of heart attacks is coming because we don't have this immunological response. We have an inflammatory response from eating sugar, and our cardiovascular system goes into this prolonged period of spasm, and boom, we're having a heart attack. We literally can have a heart attack after a high sugar meal. It happens with diabetics and other people. So they actually had a solution. They had a suggestion. Number one is people need to obviously control sugar in their diet. That's number one. Sort of obvious conclusion. Their other conclusions, though, were really kind of spectacular. Number two was people need to optimize glutathione. Now, they didn't say how. They just said people need to optimize glutathione. And remember, in the medical community itself, optimizing glutathione using amino acids, although it's well publicized by many, many studies, it's not mainstream medicine. It's just not mainstream yet. We'll get there someday, if I keep talking long enough. And they said optimize glutathione for two reasons. One, because it's the master antioxidant, and two, because of its effect on red blood cells and the body's ability to carry oxygen.
Yeah.
The one that they didn't mention was the fact that the amino acid cysteine, when you have that amino acid, so when we give the amino acids, we're giving you the double bonded cysteine molecule, which breaks into cysteine in your body. When it's still the double bonded molecule, that molecule itself can have an effect on cholesterol levels in the body. It can actually reduce the apolipoprotein. Now, if anybody here had their cholesterol tested and they have high cholesterol, you'll know that your doctor suggested that you get an apolipoprotein test, because it's actually the ratio of apolipoprotein A and B, the ratio of those two, that really determines your cardiovascular risk, not your cholesterol big number. It's those little things. So you'll know what that means. The amino acid cysteine, before it breaks into cysteine, actually has a direct effect on apolipoprotein. Now, this is just brand new research. It's being further researched. There will be more research coming. But these authors who are looking for the reason why people literally could have a cardiovascular accident unrelated to their physical health, this is their recommendation.
Oh, I've heard so many stories about that. One of my girlfriends has a really good friend who does like triathlon, marathon, like skiing, like hiking. He's phenomenally fit, and he was only in his mid-40s, and he actually was on like a ski trip, and he was solo skiing, and he actually had a major cardiac event in the mountains alone. And he had to crawl himself to somewhere where he was actually kind of like on the street, and then he was found and taken to the hospital. But nobody was expecting it because he was so fit that we were all shocked that he had this, cardiac event. And he was surprised too, because he was out adventuring on his own. I mean, if he thought that he was at risk for anything like that, he wouldn't have been out in the mountains by himself.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's actually like, it's amazing that he survived, that he was able to get himself to somewhere where he was able to get to the hospital. And then, do you remember Reza?
Yes.
Reza was the same. He's not overweight. He's only in his 40s, and he had a major heart attack. And they were in the car, and something told him that something was wrong. And they just happened to be in the car, and the wife was like, "We have to go to the hospital." And he's like, "Oh, it's not that bad," but she insisted. And if she hadn't have insisted and gotten him to the hospital, he said he wouldn't have made it.
Wow.
And in his 40s.
Yeah. So
it's just amazing how some of these people, you literally do not see it coming.
You do not see it coming. That's the challenge, because we don't feel that twitch in our cardiovascular system.
No, we don't.
We don't feel that instability.
No.
in our system, and so
Yeah.
then boom, all of a sudden it's upon us, and we have no idea why that would happen to us, and we're reasonably fit and we're all that.
Yeah.
And in people that are extreme athletes and are really fit, when they go do stuff, they tend to create a lot of free radical damage, and if they're out skiing for hours on end, their cortisol goes way up, and they get that imbalance in their immune function, where not everybody does, obviously, but on this guy's occasion and other people, where they get that imbalance in their immune function, parasympathetic takes off, heart starts to twitch, and there's no contra switch. The parasympathetic can't turn on. So the sympathetic and parasympathetic are out of balance. You have atrial fibrillation, you have a cardiovascular accident, and it's just a testament to his actual fitness that he got somewhere that he could get help.
Yeah.
But so anyway, so then they're in their research. So what these guys are saying is, number one, you really have to watch your sugar. They're advising that for everybody, and we've heard that for ages. I mean, we've heard that and heard that and heard that. And in spite of that, the average child in America is still eating 200 pounds of sugar a year.
Oh.
200 pounds. 200 pounds. Like, go somewhere. I don't know if they still sell 100-pound bags of sugar anywhere, but I remember as a kid, because my mom made everything at home, 100 pounds of flour, 100 pounds of sugar. We'd have these big Rogers sugar bags in our house, along with the Robin Hood flour bag. And, she would make stuff and she'd have her big scoop. Well, I guess it was probably a cup, right?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Cups of sugar. 8 cups of sugar into something, or 10 cups of sugar, or gosh, and I mean, my mom was doing her best for us. She wasn't intentionally poisoning us.
I'm pretty sure my mom was.
Yeah, I'm kind of sure of that too, but.
Yep.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, it sneaks up on us. It's just so subtle. And thank goodness we have research. I often tell people that if you're a scientist, you have to be a skeptic. Not a cynic. Cynics don't get anything done, because cynics, they'll just find what's wrong, and then what's wrong and what's wrong and what's wrong. But skeptics will look at something and go, why? So these guys went, why? Why is this happening? So we now know that, we have the homocysteine plaque that was discovered by a great researcher here at the University of British Columbia. That is literally, homocysteine plaque is literally a lack of immunological response in our body. We don't have enough B vitamins to convert the cysteine and methionine that comes from methionine into a product that our body can get rid of. It converts into this homocysteine, and homocysteine can form instant solid plaques in our cardiovascular system. And now we also know about this vesiculation. That's what it's actually caused. That's the technical term. It's not vestigiality. That's another term we've used. But this vesiculation means vibration or twitching throughout our cardiovascular system that comes from sugar. The other recommendation they had was for anybody, for everybody, literally, not only to optimize their glutathione, but that we should be taking extra doses of vitamin C. So their argument was, we have a recommended daily allowance of vitamin C. That's to prevent scurvy. That's all. That's all it's there for. That's so that you as a kid don't get, or me as an adult will not get scurvy. It has no therapeutic effect. They're saying that the minimum amount of vitamin C anybody in North America should be taking is 1,000 milligrams a day of vitamin C in a couple of divided doses, and probably 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams. Now, there was some information a while ago about vitamin C involved in cardiovascular disease, the hardening of arteries, atherosclerosis. So, once again, these people are skeptics, so they went and looked at all that research, and they looked at 19 different studies that were used by the authors of the study that said taking vitamin C will actually cause atherosclerosis. And when they looked at that, the very first thing they discovered was that there was no consistent protocol. In other words, all the studies used different protocols. All the studies were actually basically inconclusive, and they, in their words, said we could not use this in any scientific research. So they did their own research, and they could not find any evidence that vitamin C at 1,000 or 2,000 milligrams a day, and even upwards of more, could cause atherosclerosis. The other thing that they recommended was vitamin D, and there's lots of controversy about vitamin D, but they recommended significant doses of vitamin D that we all should take daily because we live in the dark. If you live in Canada, north of the 49th parallel, you actually live in the dark. Daylight saving time doesn't improve that. Just so you know, daylight saving time doesn't really, there's no scientific evidence that daylight saving time has a measurable effect on our health. Actually has a detrimental effect on our health, the changing of time. So,
yeah, I'm feeling that right now.
the day didn't get an hour longer or an hour shorter. The sunlight is the same. The clock changed, but you know we still have 24 hours in the day. And so anyway,
I'm not yawning because I'm bored. I'm yawning because I'm so jet lagged right now. Oh my goodness. So just so you guys know, Bangkok is 14 hours ahead of Vancouver time, PST. So for me, it's like 7, it'd be 9 o'clock in the morning tomorrow.
yeah, right, yeah.
It was really weird because I left on the 12th and I got into Bangkok the night of the 14th, or I should say early morning, 1 a.m. on the 14th. And then when I left on the 23rd, I got home on the 23rd. So
4 hours later, right?
I was time traveling. It was actually, no, I left at, it was 10 a.m. I started my journey.
Oh yeah, because you flew to Shanghai first, right?
No, I flew from Phuket to Bangkok to Shanghai to Vancouver.
Right.
So I started my journey at 10 a.m. on the 23rd, and I arrived in Vancouver at 7 p.m. on the 23rd, just to give you an idea of
you'd flown around the world.
how much traveling I did. Yeah, I was actually flying over the North Pole.
Yeah.
It was really interesting to see the route that we took.
But how can you do that if the Earth is flat?
Right? You can still fly over it if it's flat.
I guess so, yeah.
You just go in a straight line instead of around. Why did it take so long if the Earth is flat?
Exactly, right?
Yeah, it shouldn't have taken 10 hours.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe the Earth got flat in between my journey because it took me 13 hours to get to Shanghai. But then when I came back from Shanghai, it was only 10.
It's because of the wind.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Anyway.
The wind was in my favor coming back.
The wind is in your favor coming to the west. There's no doubt.
Oh, and also, just so you guys know, out of nowhere, my flight from Shanghai to Bangkok got upgraded to first class. Out of nowhere. I was boarding. Me and a couple of girls that I had met at the airport decided to go powder our noses really quick before we boarded the plane, and we were the last few to get on the plane. And out of nowhere, the guy just said, "You've been upgraded to first class." And I was like, "What?" And then he just altered my ticket with pen. And I was like, "I don't understand." And he wrote the seat number and everything. So I didn't believe him. I was like, he's joking right now. So I got onto the plane. And you know how it is when you get onto the plane. If you're first class, then you go to the left. On the big, huge ones or whatever, you go to the left. And then if you're coach, you go to the right. Some of the planes you'll actually go through first class so you can see how nice it is and be teased and then go into coach, which was the plane that I got on going from Bangkok to Shanghai. So that was mean.
Yeah.
But they had me go to the left, and all of a sudden I had this absolutely gorgeous like little booth. And what was really crazy about the planes that are in Asia is they actually have like a remote control that looks like a joystick. And you can actually pull it out of the wall, and there's a thing that you can select on your screen to play games, and you can actually use it like a joystick and play games. That's Asia for you, because they love anime and their games and all the rest of that. I've never seen that on a plane ever. And there was a guy that I was sitting next to that had to show me, because I saw this thing sitting in there, and then somebody sitting in front of me was actually playing games on the thing, and I was like, how does this work? And then he pushed the little button, and all of a sudden this joystick popped out of the seat, and I was like, what?
Wow, first class on United, they actually give you an iPad.
Oh, nice. Oh, I had a beautiful screen that it was like this big TV screen like this, and it like, you push a button and it pops out and swings out and right in front of you. It's just, oh my gosh, it's spectacular. And then you've got remote controls right beside you so that you can make the seat like recline so you can lay down and you get a nice thick blanket. And they even give you slippers.
course they do, because you shouldn't wear shoes in Asia. You don't wear shoes in their house.
And when you go into coach, they give you peanuts. When you go into first class, you get mixed nuts that are warmed. And then
Very
they
cool.
give you all sorts of like, you get regular green tea in coach. In first class, you get your pick of like a list of teas.
Of course.
Oh my gosh,
Like,
it was
first
absolutely
class.
amazing. Yeah, all the girls when I went back, because I posted on Facebook, when I got into Phuket, the girls were like, "Are you the girl who got upgraded to first class?" They were so mad at me. "How did you do that?" I was like, "I don't know,
They just did.
they're like, "Well, was it predetermined or whatever?" I was like, "No, they just literally decided and then wrote it on my ticket in pen." So I have no idea, but I'm grateful to the universe for that 1 5-hour flight that I had towards the tail end of my trip going out, because I got to stretch out my legs and it was amazing. Oh, I got swollen. My legs swelled up on the flight. That's never happened to me before.
Wow.
Yeah. And I don't know, because I gave my my glutathione to somebody else, so I didn't have it going back. So I'm wondering if that kind of made a difference, but I was told that I had to get some compression socks, because apparently aging is starting or something.
It's very common, especially long flight. Like, you know, you think of how many hours you were in a compressed can in the air.
17 hours
17
in planes.
hours. Very, very common for people to have some swelling, even if you're healthy. So,
That's
anyways,
just never happened to me
I
before.
don't know, it's a big
It's
deal.
just crazy. So one of the things that I would highly, highly recommend is that you get some optimize your glutathione before you get in a plane, because it helps reduce inflammation, which I did not do because I didn't have access to it. Because I found out, well, the groom was really sick and puking the night before his wedding. He got super sick and we're not sure what it was. And so I just gave him my pharmaceutical kit. And the bride started puking after the party, just before, the night before the wedding. And we found out the next day that they were pregnant.
Oh,
They are going to
Why
have a
was
baby
he-
boy.
why is he sick?
He sympathy sick? I have no
That's
idea,
funny.
but they were both pounding back the products to optimize their glutathione, so they were both able to get through the wedding, and they actually were significantly better the next day. So, and then they kind of scoffed it. I didn't get it back.
Anyway, I hope you guys really enjoyed this little thing on the heart and our time, and I'm saying little thing, but it's a really, really huge thing. It's so huge that there are now 3 universities, one in Canada and 2 in the United States, that are going to do specific research on metabolic syndrome, cardiovascular disease, and optimizing glutathione using amino acids. That's how significant it is. So what we talked about tonight are sort of original findings. There's meta-analysis of studies. So now we're getting into the real research. I'm really confident, just from what I know of glutathione and the fact that it was there to protect us as we developed as humans, that we have just scratched the scratch on the tick of the flea as far as glutathione and our cardiovascular system is concerned. And for flying, for doing whatever we're doing in life, optimizing glutathione should be something that everybody does.
Yeah, any of you guys that are planning on traveling at all, I highly recommend that you optimize your glutathione, because I went to Portugal before I knew what optimizing my glutathione was about, and my stomach was quite sick for a week, adjusting to the bacteria in the food. And I took what I needed to optimize my glutathione on my trip, and I did not experience a single day of upset stomach or anything like that. I was, taking my trizyme, these wonderful digestive enzymes. I was taking them every time that I ate, which was absolutely amazing. And then I had my immunity to optimize my glutathione, and I'm telling you, it made all the difference being able to adjust to the bacteria in Asia, which I've never been to before. So, and there were numerous people that I talked to that were getting diarrhea and were getting sick stomachs and were having a really difficult time with all sorts of stuff. And then of course, the bride and groom were puking. Obviously the bride had a good reason for it, but the groom, it was something he ate. So any of you guys who are planning on traveling somewhere, this is one of the best ways to defend yourself against potential things that you can get that travelers are very worried about. Zika and there's another one that I can't think of right now, but Zika's a really big one. But travelers' diarrhea, especially going to like tropical countries and stuff like that, people are really concerned about it, and people were telling me not to brush my teeth with the tap water. I was really careful the first day, and then after that I kind of realized I was tired and I did anyways and stuff. I didn't have any problems.
Yeah.
And the first day there too, I had bubble tea that had ice in it. I don't know where the ice came from, but I didn't have any problems. So I just made sure that I was optimizing my glutathione to reduce any inflammation from any bacteria that I might be consuming, and I had no problems.
Yeah. No, it's I mean, look, evolution started this 3.5 billion years ago. We're just talking about it. We are the beneficiaries of a long time of cells protecting themselves and learning how to survive in any environment. And so, what a great thing it is for us to be able to talk about it with some level of understanding and knowledge now, whereas, 100 years ago we had no idea. And now we can do it. We can do it on purpose, and it's really cool. So I love it. I love what we're doing. I love what we're talking about, and I love doing it with you. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. I'm super grateful to have the option of having something that's natural, because the amount of pharmaceutical products that people were telling me to take before I went to Thailand was astronomical.
Yeah.
And I don't like taking pharmaceutical products if I can avoid it. And a lot of it was actually redundant for the functions of what optimizing my glutathione is. So I was actually able to avoid a lot of that stuff, and kind of decided to take it for a test run and see what happens if I didn't have those things that people told me to take. One of the products, what was it? Is it Ducarol? One of those ones for your stomach. They say to take it for like a month before you start traveling. I was researching it. It was saying take it for like up to 30 days before you start traveling to set yourself up. And
set yourself up for getting sick.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I was like, are you kidding me right now? But my glutathione was already optimized and stuff, and I was like, I don't want to spend more money on this stuff anyways. I didn't have any problems at all. So, if you want to save yourself a little bit of money on all the things that doctors are going to prescribe to you, friends are going to tell you to take, and, not wanting to take all these prescription things and stuff, it actually in the long run works out to be cheaper to just get the one product and optimize your glutathione, to be honest. And you'll be protecting yourself against a host of things. And we know now, as of this date, that low glutathione is linked to 144 different diseases. And there is still current research being done to discover more. So the number keeps changing. So this is an incredibly important thing to learn about, which is why I talk about it with everybody that I meet. Because I'm incredibly passionate about people understanding how phenomenally important this is for your health. So I really, really appreciate all of you guys, and you guys are all giving us so much love, and I really appreciate everybody who's welcoming me home, and I'm safe and sound, and I'm back, and I'm super jet lagged, and next week I'll be feeling a lot better, I'm sure.
And next week, we hope to have a special guest.
Oh, nice!
Yes.
Ooh, that's awesome. I guess we'll all have to wait to find out who it is, because I don't even know right now.
Will you?
Cool. So stay tuned, you guys, to find out who our special guest is going to be. And obviously we'll be here same day, same time on the Glutathione Authority Facebook page. Any of you guys have friends or people that you want to share this information with that you love, please feel free to go to the Glutathione Authority YouTube channel. And our videos will be there, and you can share the link for those who aren't on Facebook. You can hit share on Facebook to share this information with your Facebook friends as well. This information is all open source and easy to access. We want all of you guys to be able to share this reliable, trusted information that we are simply sharing out of pure passion. This isn't about monetization, let me tell you. We are doing this strictly out of because we're incredibly passionate about sharing this information with you guys. We've had life-altering experiences ourselves by optimizing our glutathione, and we know how much it supports our health, and we want to support you guys optimizing your glutathione to be protected and to be healthy and to live a quality life. and to have longevity with that quality as well. So again, thank you so much for joining us. I love and appreciate each and every one of you guys who comes back here every week to show us love, to ask questions, and to interact and participate. And those of you who I see bringing new people on to watch and to ask questions and learn, I really appreciate you guys doing that and helping to spread the word about what we're doing, because we're so passionate about what it is that we're doing. So I really appreciate all of you. So we'll see you guys again next week.